everybody, so I wanted to make a video of the top 10 VR games that I think are still worth playing in 2020. Now keep in mind, these are only my opinions, and not all of these games were released in 2020, so some of them are older, but I still feel like they are worth playing if you haven't heard of them before or even played them before. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and here I go. Number 10. Fallout 4 VR, but only using a lot of mods as the vanilla game is pretty terrible, so you do need to mod this. Now obviously I am a bit biased when it comes to Fallout VR since I am the one that made the auto-installing mod list, which fixes the game in my opinion. But regardless, I do still think that this is a game worth playing in 2020. I believe it's still the largest open world first-person shooter RPG available in VR. It's an engaging world, the story is pretty interesting. You can get, pretty immersed in this game as you're like creeping along through destroyed buildings in downtown Boston trying to scavenge for what little supplies there are. And I think that the survival mode here is honestly some of the best survival gameplay that you can experience in virtual reality. If you use mods, this is a really awesome experience. Coming in at number 9 is SkyrimVR. Again, using a lot of mods. Don't buy this and then just play the vanilla game. You're gonna need to mod it. So there's not much to say. It's this is Skyrim. Everybody's played Skyrim. Everybody loves Skyrim. I do think that the virtual reality adds a lot to this game. You can get pretty immersed while playing it. Obviously, this is a pretty old game. This didn't come out in 2020. The VR port came out in 2018, I think. But I do think that this is still worth playing, especially if you mod it. There's mods to give you a full body. There's even, things like Dragonborn speaks naturally, which lets you talk to NPCs using your real voice. You can shout using the actual shouts, like you can Fus or Da and you'll have it go off. There's even mods, if you get a fan, it'll like blow wind on you depending on where you are in the game. It's crazy, you have to do everything physically, swinging your arms for swords, using magic, arrows, and this is a massive open world RPG. This is old, but this is a classic game, so you should definitely check this out. Alright, at number 8 we have Vivecraft / Minecraft VR. This is the mod, not the official version. So Vivecraft is absolutely stunning, and I still think that this is absolutely worth playing in 2020 if you haven't tried it before. This takes Minecraft to an entirely new level, and it's honestly one of the best VR games out there in terms of actual VR interaction that you can get. You can set it up so you have to mine and craft physically. There's even an option where you have to run and jump up blocks. Like in real life, you gotta like jump up each individual block, which it can actually get kind of exhausting. It's almost like having a personal gym. You can just go running in Minecraft, especially these days in 2020, instead of doing that in real life. With the right shaders and texture packs, this game can also look graphically amazing as well. I'll put a link in the description of some of the high-performing shaders and textures that I was using in my game to make it look like this. If you haven't tried out Vivecraft and you own a headset, I think you owe it to yourself just to give this a shot because the experience is worth it. Number 7, Vertigo Remastered. Vertigo Remastered is an indie immersive story-driven shooter. I played the original Vertigo when it was released in 2016, and for the time it had some of the best VR interaction to date, but I wasn't able to finish it because some of the puzzles and things were a little bit confusing and I had trouble getting into it. This remastered version came out in 2020, and it's now one of my favorite VR games I've ever played. Everything in this game is well thought out from a VR perspective, the interaction is crazy, the world is mysterious, and as you're going through it, you really want to figure out, what's going on and why you're kind of in this place. This is also probably as close to an experience that we can get to a Portal-like game in VR. This game is amazing, and if you own a VR headset, you should absolutely check it out. Number 6, Population 1. Now, I am not ashamed to admit this. I have never been a huge fan of the Battle Royale genre. I played a lot of them, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, Fortnite, Apex Legends, you name it, but I could never really get into them. They always just felt, very generic and boring to me. But Population 1 brings something new to the table. There have been attempts to make Battle Royale games in VR before, but none of them quite like this. The gameplay isn't super realistic, it's more arcadey, but I think it really works for this type of fast-paced gameplay. I particularly love the movement and building that they've done in this game. If you see something, you can climb onto it. You just grab your hands out and you just start pulling yourself up and you're going to climb all over the map. You can also just fly off of any building, anywhere. You just hold your arms out, so it kind of gives the feeling of Breath of the Wild, with Link flying off of really high places, which is very cool to experience. It gives the world a kind of verticality that you don't really see in a lot of other Battle Royale games in general, and especially not a lot of VR games are doing this. And it's done really well, so you can get into aerial combat, and it's kind of awesome. I like the squad-based gameplay where you have to communicate with your team. And as far as, VR population, because that's been a problem with other VR multiplayer games, is the population tends to get smaller and smaller over time. This game is completely crossplay, so you've got the Quest, Rift platforms, and obviously Steam VR. So I don't see that being a problem. If you like Battle Royale games, definitely check this one out. It's a good time. Okay, number 5, Boneworks. If you haven't heard of Boneworks, then I don't know where you've been. Boneworks is a crazy physics-based adventure first-person shooter and arena fighter. It has full mod support, and there's an insane amount of interactivity here. One of the most interesting things is that items have real weight to them, and I'm not talking about just the items that you can use for weapons, like melee weapons or guns and stuff. That's been done in other VR games, but I'm talking about boxes and objects in the world. They have weight to it, so you have to actually put your full VR body behind stuff if you want to move things, which makes for some pretty interesting puzzles. Some of it's a bit wonky, but they're definitely pretty interesting. I do think that the engine here pushes the industry forward in a lot of different ways. The gunplay and combat obviously feel great. The story is pretty interesting. And I think if you have a headset, you should try this out just to kind of experience the engine here, because it was built for the ground up for virtual reality, and it's a pretty interesting way to play games. This came out in 2019, but I think it still holds up really great for 2020. Number 4, Blade&Sorcery. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I love Blade&Sorcery. The combat in this game is insane. I love melee combat in VR, and that's one of the reasons that I initially got into the tech to begin with. But I absolutely love this game. I love the different ways that you can take out and fight enemies. The melee combat here is probably some of the best on the market right now. In fact, I'm going to say that this is the best melee combat in VR in general. It has full mod support, and one thing that I think brings this to the next level for me specifically is that this has full body tracking support, which just takes it to a crazy level. I love being able to just do spin kicks and, stab someone and then kick them in the head. And there's nothing like being able to Sparta kick an enemy and then take out a modded banana Rick weapon and just punch a guy in the face with it. The only downside I can think of is that this is just kind of an arena fighting game at the moment, and it can get a little bit boring because there isn't any actual progression or RPG elements yet. It's being developed by one guy, and I think he plans on adding that eventually. But that brings me to the next game on my list, which I'll talk about here in a second. Number 3, Tales of Glory. This is the definitive Mount & Blade game in VR. If you've played Mount & Blade, or if you're a fan of the medieval strategy first-person shooter genre, you have to check this game out. You can get into these massive epic battles with 500 plus units on each side, which personally I wouldn't recommend unless you have a PC from 2077 when Cyberpunk is a thing, or it might blow up, but it's possible. The music in this game is also amazing, And the feeling that you get from rushing straight at an enemy side with their soldiers that you can command with built-in voice commands. You can be like, soldiers, follow me, and they'll follow you. The experience is just amazing. It's, as Keanu likes to say, breathtaking. The combat is also physics-based. It's similar to Blade&Sorcery, but there's no slowdown or magic mechanic, so it's actually a little bit more challenging to get good at this game. Because you actually have to, you gotta make full swings and aim for the bits of pieces that aren't covered by armor on enemy soldiers. On top of that, there's an entire massive campaign mode where you can try and build up your army, just like the Mount and Blade Warband's campaign mode. You can do quests for warring factions and kings. You even have to kneel down to talk to the king, or if you don't kneel down, they're gonna get mad at you. And it's not all just battles as well. There's stealth missions, infiltration missions. There's tournaments where you can earn extra money. There's RPG mechanics as well. You can increase your stats as you level up and train your army and your own, physical fighting and things. The interaction is great. You can, when you go to buy new armor or horses and stuff, you're going into an actual, shop, and you can, pick up the different armor and pick up the different, weapons and stuff, and, play around with them and then bring it over to the counter and be like, I want to buy this, if you have enough money. Honestly, I think this game deserves a lot more recognition than it's getting. I think it's developed just by one guy, and seriously, this is one of the best medieval, combat games I've played, and I do think that a lot more people need to play this, especially if you like, this kind of strategy, medieval genre that I really enjoy, or if you've played Mount and Blade in the past, I think you're gonna love this. So that's why this is number 3. Number 2, The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. This game at number 1, I think, really drove the VR industry into a new era. I personally never expected this game to be as good as it is, but this game is an absolute must-play if you have a headset. Everything in this game is well thought out. It added new mechanics to VR which hadn't even really been done before. The physics-based stamina combat, where you have to actively pull weapons out of walkers' skulls and maintain and watch your stamina bar, is intense, and it creates a real sense of urgency. And the feeling that you get from searching around and scavenging for supplies that you need before an enemy horde of walkers comes every 20 minutes on each level or map, it made me terrified. The fact that when you get hurt, you have to physically reach over your shoulder, grab a 3D backpack out, you have to search in that backpack for a bandage or something that you can use to heal yourself, and then you have to physically wrap yourself up. That's another thing that I hadn't really experienced before in VR, and it was extremely immersive. I don't think I've ever been as immersed as when I played this game. It was a crazy experience. You also get to a point where the walkers aren't as bad to deal with because there's an entire RPG mechanic of upgrading your weapons and stuff. But the human enemy AI is always scary. They have guns, and 1 or 2 bullets will kill you. And if you die in a level, you lose all of your stuff that you collected. If you die again, it's gone for good. And the farther you get into the game, the less and less supplies there are in the world. So you're always just running low on stuff. It's intense. It's great. And this is one of the best VR games to come out of 2020 in general. Special mentions. I'm just going to go through a few games here that didn't make the top 10, but I still think they're worth playing in 2020. So first one is Beat Saber, or as I like to play it, Feet Saber. Beat Saber is a classic, and obviously it's still worth playing even in 2020. It's great for exercise, and if you have access to full body tracking, I would highly recommend you try out the Feet Saber mod, which transforms this game into something like Dance Dance Revolution VR. It's super fun. I've legit broken out into a real sweat while playing it like this. I'll leave a link for that in the description if you're interested. Alright, Megaton Rainfall. This is a Superman God simulator, which feels amazing in VR. The controls are a little bit wonky and it takes some time to get them working, but once you do, it's an incredible experience. You can fly at super speed around the entire life-sized universe. You can destroy cities with a single blast using a gesture system with your controllers. The destruction system in this is great, and it's just a really cool experience just flying around and fighting aliens and enemies and stuff. Alright, and Payday 2 VR. In my opinion, this is one of the best VR ports that I think a company has made. I think it still holds up really well in 2020, even though this came out, I believe, in 2017. The controls are a little bit weird in index, but once you get used to them and you spend a little bit of time going in and changing the bindings, it's a good experience. It's a great time robbing stores, and you can fight hundreds of cops. It's crazy. And it's especially fun if you play with friends. It's a very good time, co-op. And finally, VR Chat, Neos, or Chill Out VR. I'm grouping these together because these are all really great social VR games. My personal favorite here is Neos VR because of the amount of stuff that you can create and do on the platform. People can, they've made these crazy maps, and you can actually code everything directly inside the game. They have their own coding language. It's a little bit less established as far as people than VR Chat. It has less people overall. But I think the foundation and engine is better than VR Chat, in my opinion. I've personally never tried Chill Out VR, but I've heard good things about that. And obviously, VR Chat is the king of social VR. There's, thousands of people that play that. So if you want to meet new friends, that is the place to be for sure. And it's always a good time. I've made a lot of great friends playing VR Chat over the years. So, cool. And finally, number 1, Half-Life Alyx. Some of you probably saw this coming. This game doesn't need an introduction. This was one of the biggest releases in general in 2020. It pushed the industry forward in so many ways. The graphics here are incredible, not just for VR, but in general, this game it looks amazing. The interactivity, the story, the combat, the gameplay, everything about Half-Life Alyx is just straight up awesome. The game is a masterpiece. There's full workshop support. This is probably what sold VR to a lot of people. A lot of people got into VR this year specifically for Half-Life Alyx, and that's awesome. If you have a headset, I don't know why you haven't played this game yet, but you just need to experience it. I don't want to say anything else not to spoil it, but yeah, it's great. Alright, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully this gave you some ideas for VR games that maybe you haven't tried yet, or if you have tried them, maybe you want to go back and play them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to everyone that's subscribed to me. My channel has grown a lot over the past year. I started out at 200 subscribers in 2019, and now I'm at almost 1,800, which is crazy for me. So yeah, just thank you to everyone that enjoys the videos and has subscribed. And hopefully you guys like my content. So other than that, have a great rest of your day.